Right. I've got a very interesting interview today. I had a somebody reach out the other day. I was scrolling through social media and I see a message on one of my Facebook accounts and it says, hey, were you playing with Colt Ford at the Boots and Hearts Festival in 2013? And I honestly had to go, man, maybe I did. There's so much of that time period and all the work that we did that was just a blur. So I went on YouTube and I did a search for Boots and Hearts Colt Ford 2013, and lo and behold, I'd say, yeah, okay, yeah, I was there. So but here's the first thing. When I saw that you asked me that question, I went, "Oh shit, what did I do?"
Was there something I did that I forgot is coming back?
Yeah, there's always that. I'm like, should I admit that I was there, or should I just ignore this message? But then and I'm not sure if we had connected before on Twitter or something.
No,
Maybe. Okay, we hadn't. Okay,
no, we hadn't. No,
okay,
it was kind of a, it was just kind of a blind reach out, and
yeah, yeah, and
yeah,
that was the
2013.
thing. I just didn't know, like, and like I said, man, that this time period. So we're gonna so what ended up happening is you we confirmed that I was there, and then you said I'm a photographer and maybe you can take over now for just a little bit.
Sure. So, so yeah, I shot Boots and Hearts back in, it was either 2012 and 2013 or 2013 and 2014, and one of my hard drives disappeared on me. So I had managed to get some of the photos edited and some of them moved on. I mean, back then Twitter was the big thing and Facebook was the big thing. I don't Instagram didn't even exist back then,
Yeah.
right? So all of a sudden, so I got some of the photos out, and one of my hard drives vanished. I'm like, oh man! So I lost thousands of photos. I mean, like, because Boots and Hearts, that was what, 3 days or 4 days straight of nonstop shows from the time the gates open till the time the gates close, and all of a sudden, all these photos are gone. It'd be like a musician losing a songbook of all the original material,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
just absolutely disastrous. So somehow I just found this hard drive, and I'm like, sorry, not the hard drive, but I found a bunch of the memory sticks or thumb drives, whatever you want to call them.
Ah.
And I'm like, well, what's on these? But back when I did Boots and Hearts, when you went in, they gave the photographers like a gift bag, as it were, and it had um, Boots and Hearts thumb drives in them. So it's like, oh, Boots and Hearts. Oh my god. Okay, now I really got to get into some of these and see what's on them. So the first one I pop in was the one that had your stuff on it. It had uh, Colt Ford and obviously the band and Cassidy Pope and her band. So I went through and I was like, man, I really still like some of these photos, which isn't always the case. Like, I don't know, as a musician, if you ever hear some of your
Yeah.
earlier stuff and
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
oh man, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
But in this case, I still like some of these photos. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna edit them. I'm gonna reach out to some of the people and say, hey, would you like some photos? And I just love you. You had some what I would call rock and roll poses. I mean, like, here you are, this kind of, you're playing with Colt Ford, and but you have this pose like I would expect to see on a heavy metal band or whatever. And I'm like, I love it. Back then, photographer, when I did Boots and Hearts, it blew my mind because for me, if you're on that stage and all the people in the crowd were like, oh, what a great show, what a great show. It wasn't just Colt Ford that made that show great. It was the bassist, the drummer, right? It was everybody in unison that made that show what it was. So I would shoot everybody on stage, where the photographers that I was working with, and it really surprised me, they were only focusing on the main, like the lead guitarist or the lead singer, and that was it. And they were like, well, how come you taking pictures of all these other people? I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
Like, why not take pictures of these people? Like, okay, maybe they'll never see a magazine, or they'll never see anything on the computer, but I got some great shots, and maybe the artists might like to have them.
Yeah.
And so even back then, I would try and send artists photos. I didn't even watermark them. I just say, hey, listen, use them for whatever you want, but if you put them anywhere, just make sure people know I'm a photographer.
Yeah.
You know, and that was one of the reasons, also that I had reached out to you, because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to post any of them, but I'm like, you know what, maybe this artist, yourself, would like to have some old photos for memory's sake.
Yeah. Well,
So I yeah.
and there's the old Rod Stewart song, "Every picture tells a story," right? And a large part of what I've now started with this YouTube channel is an old warrior telling these stories of being on the road. Now that whole Colt Ford journey, which was a part of a literally 40-year journey in the music business, that was I would almost call it like a last hurrah. The show horse goes out for one more lap. The tired heavyweight fighter goes out for against a young competitor, and so all of that, one, the fact that you were taking pictures of everybody, which I will say this, the best photographers that I've worked with, and some guys that like Jeff Mitline out of Michigan. He shoots all the machine shop and all the metal bands and all the stuff in that area. He always takes pictures of everybody because you never know who's gonna give you that shot. And that whole thing of you reaching out and me not even really remembering, because 2013 was an absolute insane like work schedule touring grind that I'd ever been on in my life. And I was now at that point in time, I was 12 years ago, so I'm just doing rough math. I was 47 years old. And that,
12 years ago. Oh, I can't believe it's been 12 years already. Like, I can still remember the rain, and the artist being careful not to slip on the stage, because it had just been fresh rain. And but
yeah.
12 years. Yeah. It was so anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
No, but and so then I had to reach out. You send me that picture, and I it took me back in time because at being an old show horse, I knew I could see a photographer, and I could out of the corner of my eye, I could see he's turning the lens towards me. And just like an old show horse, I get into horse stance and make sure that the cheeks are firm, and the guns are blazing and the guitar's slung down low, and knowing that I'm giving you a shot. Now a lot of young guys that haven't been in the business that long, they just get up there and they do their thing, and
Yeah.
you maybe get a good shot and you maybe don't. But
Yeah.
maybe somebody that's a little more experienced knows, hey man, and I know some of the other guys we had in the band, they used to complain, "Oh, my shots don't come out that good." Well, you need to be aware of the lens. You need to, frame your shot. If somebody's taking a photo of you, make sure you look good. Look as good as you can. But then here's the other thing you mentioned. I had to reach out to one of the other guys and say, "Hey, do you remember that show?" And I said, because here's what happened. Because of the weather, because of the fact that it was in Canada, this was in Ontario, right?
Yeah. Yep.
We had an issue with one of the guys who had his passport or something. They weren't gonna let him in, and I
Oh
think,
no.
and he was at the border with, I believe, I think Colt Ford was with him, and they were stuck. We were in Ontario, and we're like thinking, well, shit, it's raining. And our guy is like miles away, and they were like going, okay, they're going to let him through now, but he's never going to make it in time if he drives from wherever he was.
Okay.
And so they got a friggin' helicopter.
Nice.
This is, and nobody knows this story because I never told it. But they
See, this
got
is the
a
stuff that I love to. This is stuff I love to hear.
I
So
knew you
please,
would like this because
yes,
this
sir.
is all of this building up to this crazy tour. We'd had several casualties in the band as far as guys coming in and out. But when we hit right around that time in 2013 is when the band started to peak. And we had a couple fresh bloods on the far corners, and then the veteran rhythm section, and then Colt Ford up front. And but that whole thing with the helicopter, and we're like, we're waiting. We're like, one, it's raining, and two, are they gonna friggin' make it? And then all of a sudden, dude, the copter, the literally, it's like Elvis coming down from in Hawaii, landing when they're got the lays around his neck and all that, and then the skies cleared, and they mopped the deck, but the floors were wet, and it
Oh
was
yeah.
just like, hey, we got to break in the rain, get out there, and then boom, we go out there. I have no idea that there's any photographers or anything, but then there's that moment in time, and I'll put the picture up while we're talking about that, of that moment in time where I knew, hey, this dude over here in the corner of his eye is of my eye is taking a photo. Get in the fighting stance, and make sure he gets a good shot, and then casually move on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Boots and Hearts. Uh, there were so many photographers for that whole event, and the artist could have hit a pose at any point in time, and somebody would have captured it. But you would hit that pose a few times or something very similar to it, and then you had moved a little closer, and you went back, and I'm like, so what I would do is yourself, for example. So I would see this guy here. Okay, so there's Brad, and I got the camera up, and I'm following, and I'm waiting for the shot. You'd already hit the pose. I'm like, if he hits that pose again, I got it. Boom, you hit it. I got it obviously because you have a picture of it,
Yeah.
and you did a few more times or something similar. And well, I sent you some of those too, just for
Yeah.
just for keepsakes in
Yeah,
case you
those
want
are
them.
those are good shots too.
And that's what I would do with each of the people on stage. Okay, there's Colt. Okay, he's here. Watch. Okay, he strikes some sort of pose. Bam, got him. He does another type pose. Bam, got him. And do that with each of the band members. But yeah, some of them, like you're saying, a little younger, a little new on the stage, just kind of stood there.
Yeah.
And this is for different bands, not
Yeah.
even just Boots and Hearts, but different bands. You'll find the same thing. People will go up to the mic, and they'll just like they're there,
Yeah.
but they're not moving. There's nothing really to capture.
Yeah. Think of now, I don't know if you're familiar with the artist Youngblood.
Yes.
So that guy is a living and breathing pose. Every move he makes, dude. So the other night he did the VMAs in MTV VMA Awards, right?
Yeah.
And he literally started the thing off with the Jim Morrison, side arm, kind of walk like I'm Jesus, kind of walk. And I'm literally like, okay, there's that guy's move. Here's this guy's move. He's literally like he studied every single front man and figured out how to strike these images, and not many people get that far to where they understand that. I mean, I can remember even kind of sitting with the other guys, even some of the head guys out there, and they're looking at the photos, and Jeff Mitline was going, well, look, you need to do something and hold it for a while, whether it's raising your arm up or whatever your thing is. You need to have these kind of set things that hey, if I do this, it's going to look good. And I mean, a guy like Elvis, he'd do that kind of stuff all night long. He'd give you moments where it would just be like, holy crap, I just took a picture of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you could probably find a million different poses of Elvis out there, even though he's been gone for so long.
Yeah. I mean, and so and here's how that all culminated. This, if you think of where we were in 2013 and what was going on, we were not young kids. We were I was, I don't know what, 45, 47, something around there. Colt was a couple years younger. The drummer and the bass player were all around my age. And we were on this insane push because Colt had written a couple of number one songs and had some success with some major artists, that we were on that push to try to be our own headlining arena act. And
Right.
so we
Yep.
were opening for major groups. Eric Church, we did a whole Canadian tour going all across Canada in January of all times,
Mhm.
with Eric Church playing all the hockey arenas. I saw all the hockey arenas in Canada, and
And
you
in
know,
winter.
yeah, and so this was it's like a team, it's like a football team that finally clicks, and they grab a couple young guys and they're finally clicking, and it's like, man, we're so close to getting that Super Bowl ring, but our knees are going out. We can't quite, do it like we did when we were young. And for me, when you say it was a rock, thing, dude, I'm an old heavy metal hair band guy from LA. So all of that, once I started getting pushed out there and we're in these big stages, I'm like, I know exactly what this is. This is friggin' Van Halen. This is Pantera. This is Bon Jovi. It has to be big. It has to be big movements. It has to be loud.
Yes.
It's no longer small. It's no longer blues bar, small intensity. It's big movements and explosive, and all of that. So that's kind of how that moment in time, how it all culminated in that.
Well, there were some acts at Boots and Hearts, like yourself, where I had the surprises because there was a lot of country acts, and they get up and they did a good show, but they didn't necessarily give us the poses that we could grab that jaw-dropping shot, that oh my goodness moment, And then when you bust out that pose, when people will see the photo, when you bust that out, I'm like, this is like a rock star. This isn't like a guy in a country show.
Dude, I was living out my dream. The thing that I left home when I was 18, 19 years old and never quite got to that point, and struggled and lived in shitholes and struggled and all of that. And then all of a sudden, it's like you get that call when you're a veteran quarterback in the NFL and your knees don't work anymore. You're Rocky Balboa. You're a bum fighting other bums in a gym, and all of a sudden they call you up and go, "You've got a title. You've got a title shot," and you just go, "Holy shit." And you're just you're on this insane treadmill trying to keep up, and then trying to live that crazy lifestyle that you had wanted to do when you were 20, but now it's kicking your ass. But you still, every time you hit the stage, you have to get up, you have to like fight, no matter what's left in the tank. That moment in time was when it was still firing on all cylinders, and
Yep.
it was I'm thankful that you sent me and found me and got that picture out. And I know normally on an interview I don't talk this much, but it just literally took me to a place, a realization of what that picture said, and I didn't even remember that moment in time. But I
And that
thank
was
you.
part well, that was part of me, part of me sending out. Like I say, like I reached out to Colt, I haven't heard back. I reached out to Cassidy Pope, I haven't heard back. You directed me to a couple of bandmates. I haven't heard back from them. I reached out, haven't heard back. But they may be going through the same thing you were like, what does this guy want? But I messaged them on Instagram. So when they see the message, it's going to say Richard Dukeshire Photography. So they'll
Yeah,
know it's from a photographer. But what I was kind of worried about is going, hey, I have never before seen exclusive pictures of this show. Is this you? And someone going, hey, I want never before seen pictures of somebody, and it's not even them. Go, yep, yep,
yeah,
that's me. And then I send the pictures to the wrong people, right?
yeah.
And
Well, there's the
so
guitar. If you see, I pulled it out of storage.
no,
The guitar in the shot. There,
oh my
there's the
goodness.
proof. And that is, there's only two of those guitars made. And that's the first one. The second one, the guy built and it was for sale in some guitar shop or whatever. But I had that guitar, which is sort of a bastardization of a Telecaster and an Explorer. The
I was going to
Telecaster,
ask you because I'm looking at it. I'm like, I can't. I mean, I've seen a lot of guitars over the years, but I couldn't begin to place that.
yeah, it's so the top part, this part is like a
Yep.
Telecaster, but then this crazy horn sticking out is like an Explorer. So it's like a country metal guitar was the idea behind it. And because we were trying to put on a big spectacle, we were trying to put on a big show, that guitar with the bomb, it's like bombing missions, and it's got aircraft controls on it and all this like crazy stuff. And it looked great on stage. I'm glad I've got that picture because I didn't end up using it a lot. It has an issue with the neck,
Oh
and it and
no.
it and it doesn't really play, the way I want it to play. But
Okay.
but I pulled it out because I'm like, dude, now we get to finally kind of grab that moment. But man, I want to hear about your story, and I want to know about you told me that you had done security all across Canada for a lot of big name music stars, and I'm
Yeah.
curious about that, man. One name you dropped was Mick Jagger. Do you have anything you could tell me about that?
So years ago, without going into a lot of detail, trying to make this as quick as possible. So years ago, I was living in this apartment building, and I ran into this guy who was a former football player, and he was a big wrestling fan. I was a wrestling fan, grew up watching it with my father, like a whole bunch of other people. And I noticed this guy had this plate, and I said, "Hey man, like what's on the plate?" He said, "Oh, it's an autograph from Stone Cold Steve Austin from WW. Well, at the time it was WWF, which would become WWE." And we became friends. We watched wrestling together. Then he found out that I had some specialized training courses and martial arts and all this stuff. And he said, "Hey, listen," he goes, "I do concert security and stuff, and I got a boss that would probably love to meet you. Like, are you interested in doing security for people?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." Right? I just kind of brushed it off. So then he arranges a meeting with this guy, and I go on and meet this guy, and like I don't know about where exactly you grew up, but I grew up on the east coast of Canada in a very small town called Hansport, Nova Scotia. And when I say small town, I mean like 1,500 people, small town.
Wow.
Like I knew everyone's brothers and sisters, everyone's father, like everyone's parents, everyone's grandparents, small town.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I'm like, yeah, sure, yeah, I'm gonna work with celebrities. Yeah, yeah, because that's likely. Okay. So this guy says to me, he goes, listen, he goes, come work for me. He goes, I'll have you working in a whole bunch of different places. You're going to meet a whole bunch of world famous celebrities. I'm like, yeah, sure, sure. So long story short, the guy turned out to be legitimate, and I. I wound up meeting people and working events that I never even would have begin to dream of. Rolling Stones being one of them. They have a they did a tour, the 40 Licks tour, and if you go, you can actually go into they have the DVD set. I can't even believe DVDs are going out, but anyways, um, they have a DVD set of the 40 Licks tour, and they have a DVD of like some of the outtakes and behind the scenes and stuff, and I'm in that. So for
Wow.
me, it's great to see like, and the footage that they have of me in there was from Starstock. I don't know if you heard of Starstock or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Starstock, there was SARS was going around at the time, and the city of Toronto in Ontario, Canada, wanted to bring tourism back. So they said, how do we bring a whole bunch of people back to Toronto? And they said, and I don't know who exactly came up with the idea, but anyways, long story short, they decided to hold this massive concert. They called it SARstock, and it was the largest concert, I believe, even to date in all of North America.
Wow.
So Rolling Stones was the headliner. Before that was AC/DC, and I'm telling you
Was
that was a show.
that was the
Um,
show where was that the show where ACDC got on stage with the Stones? Like a couple Angus or somebody like that?
they, you know what, I have so many shows that blend together. I honestly, off the top of my head, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But it was for me, we were like myself and a bunch of my coworkers, we were there making sure things were the way they were supposed to be early in the morning. It ended up being a 22-hour straight shift for us,
Wow.
right? Because you had to make sure everything was ready in advance. And then afterwards, the artists don't all just leave. There's people that show up to meet the artists that they know that are in town, and then have like I said, that, yeah, right. The after show,
Yeah,
you know,
after
and
party.
so
Eh,
the after
Yeah.
show, and all the who's who were there in the music industry from all over the world, and movie stars were there. Like, it was just unbelievable day, and the whole day was just nothing but all these different artists. Like Justin Timberlake was there. The Guess Who, sorry, not the Guess Who. Yeah, the Guess Who. Yeah, the Guess Who was there. But all these different bands, all culminating to AC/DC opening for the Rolling Stones. No, what a final two
Yeah.
shows. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And when AC/DC came on, I remember because I was front center of the stage, you know, and I took out my earplugs because I'm like, I want to hear, I don't know what they're starting the show with, but I want to hear this properly.
Yeah.
So I take out the earplugs, and they hit that first note, and the crowd was so loud, it was deafening. I mean, we're talking, I think there was about, I want to say over 600,000 people.
Wow.
Might even been closer to 800,000, but I want to say 600,000. But even still, even 800,000, 600,000. It was just insane. And the energy from the crowd, like it was,
Yeah.
goosebumps. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, this is music history. AC/DC's opening up for Rolling Stones in the largest outdoor concert in the history of North America. Oh,
Yeah.
you
That's
can't, you
that's
can't beat.
that's crazy. And I mean, I'm a huge Rolling Stones fan, but even if I was Keith Richards, I don't know if I'd want to follow ACDC.
There's been an ongoing argument, who owned who owned that night.
What is the
And like
general consensus of that?
oh man, it's pretty well split. For me, I mean, I worked a lot of shows with the Stones, and I worked shows with AC/DC as well. And both, like, I really can't put Rolling Stones in the same category as
Yeah.
AC/DC because AC/DC is hard rock,
Yeah.
and even
Yeah.
though the Stones are rock, they have a
It's
bunch of stuff that has like a jazz to it,
yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
so. I mean, they're both legendary in their own right. They both sell out arenas. I mean,
Yeah. I
it
would give
depends on.
Mick the Frontman award maybe just for energy. I would maybe
Oh
give
yeah,
him the edge as a vocalist, maybe not for range, but for just sheer working the stage.
oh he's a showman. He knows how to work. I mean,
Yeah.
they've been working that stage for how many years at this point? Like,
And he's still doing it.
oh yeah, like yeah, like the whole band, they know how to work the stage and work the audience, and
Yeah.
they have these cues, and they know that if they do this, they can pause and the crowd's just gonna go.
Yeah.
They know that they can sing and stop at this part, and the crowd's just gonna take that the rest of
Yeah.
that song. And
Yeah.
yeah, they're
That's a band. That's a band if you're a photographer that knows how to strike a pose. Rolling Stones know how to give a stance or a look or a certain thing that's going to take a good photo. You know
they
that.
probably set the bar for a lot of that. I mean,
Yeah.
again, they've been on stage for how many years, touring around the
Yeah.
world. There's probably a lot of bands that picked up some things from them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, absolutely that. There's a lot of bands copied the Stone. Even Aerosmith, if you look at early Steven Tyler outfits and stuff, I
I
mean,
wondered about
oh,
you hit on something there because I thought the same thing. Steve Tyler reminded me of Mick,
Mick
but
used
I
to
mean, like,
say he was going to kick his ass if he ever saw him in public because he said that's Steven Tyler. I'll get that little, you know what,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because he knew. I mean, dude, because the early days, Steven Tyler would wear those jumpsuit kind of things with the open chest, and Mick Jagger wore the same thing in that era, that early '70s sort of era. And of course, Tyler had the lips, but Tyler's got a better range, you know.
Yeah, I mean, even Aerosmith does a great live show. I did some stuff with them. Well, here's one for you. So back in the day, and I'm going to age myself a bit here. You remember uh, Blackberries, what was it, Blueberry, the phones.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. BlackBerry.
BlackBerry, I said BlackBerry, Blueberry. Sort of
Yeah,
like well, I
yeah,
mean, it's been a
yeah,
while since they were relevant, right?
yeah,
So going back when they were big and they were relevant, um, the people that ran the company wanted to do like a thank you show for the staff. So they put a questionnaire and said, if you could see any band live, what bands would you want to see? So, all the different staff, I mean, I don't know how many employees would that company even have, right? Like hundreds, thousands, whatever. And they said, tell us who you want to see. So people put in all their votes. So the company, as a thank you to the staff, put together a concert. Aerosmith was the headliner of that private concert exclusively
wow,
for staff. Now, here's the kicker. I don't know if you know this band or not, but the opener I never would have put with Aerosmith. They're a good band. I enjoy the music, but the Bare Naked Ladies,
yeah, yeah.
they
I
they
know of them, but yeah, that's not a good match.
but this was the split. So Bare Naked Ladies opened for Aerosmith in a private concert. And again, front and center, middle of the stage, and I'm shaking my head. I'm like, I can't believe, because under no other circumstance is this band going to open for
Yeah,
Aerosmith.
yeah,
But it was a good show. Everyone was well behaved. I mean, it was a corporate event, so I guess
yeah,
everyone was going to be on best behavior.
yeah,
But yeah, Steve Tyler, he's a great showman as well. I mean, he's
yeah,
got that microphone wrapped up and he spins it around. He's got
yeah,
all the scarves hanging from it and everything.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
the whole, even that band. I mean, they've been around since what, late '70s, Aerosmith,
yeah.
or
Maybe,
yeah, late
maybe,
'70s.
maybe some of these young bands should hire me and you, and will coach them. Now, look, I will say this: I've been paid before to coach like young performers and try to help them get some of these showbiz, kind of things. But here's the deal, man. If somebody doesn't already have it, they largely won't. It's almost like it's got to be in your blood. You can't force it. And largely, if they don't feel comfortable doing it, then it's just going to look forced.
Yeah, what's the expression? You either have it or you don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I mean,
there's
you can
people that just have
improve it.
that just
Like
yeah.
I
I mean,
think some things Steven Tyler does, and as good as he is, I don't think he's the perfect front man. But he's damn near close. But there's other performers that were better at some things than Steven Tyler, and Steven Tyler would be better than others. I don't know if there's such a thing as the perfect front man, because there are those that are just better at certain
there's so
things.
many, and it's all subjective too, right?
Yeah, and you don't
So
have
who
to necessarily be a great singer to be a great front man.
right? You can be. I mean, like even if Steven Tyler didn't sing it the way he did, if he still did had that same thing with Mick Jagger, if he still had that performance, he's still going to be a great performer, a great showman. You know,
Yeah.
um, I was very fortunate. I got to work with Van Halen, with David, and with Sammy.
Wow. So did you work with David before the split? Like in the
It
80s?
was no. So I worked with Van Halen with Sammy first,
Okay.
and I was an original Van Halen fan. I'm like you. I'm a rock guy. You know, I do like a lot of old classic rock, Creedence Clearwater Revival, the Eagles, the
Yeah.
Doors. Bands like that. But I'm a rock guy. I'm a hard rock guy. I love, AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue. Like I'm all in
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah, we're the same.
Yeah, oh yeah. So I wasn't sure how it was going to be seeing Sammy live with the band because I was like I want David there. Like that's
Yeah.
just how it's supposed
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah.
But things obviously things happen with
Yeah.
bands and whatever. But Sammy, you know, he did good.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I can't knock him. But then when I got to do Van Halen with David Lee Roth, when that music cue and the lights were on, like he puts on a show. He
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Have you seen
Yeah.
Van Halen
Oh,
with David Lee
yeah.
Roth?
Yeah. I saw several of those reunion tours. Now, when I was a kid, I missed the opportunity to get the tickets. I had tickets to the Eat 'em and Smile thing with Steve Vai, and my girlfriend left them in her locker at school, and we were late and
Oh,
caught the last song of the show. But I've watched every bootleg, and of course, all the stuff that's come out over the last year or so. All this footage from 1978 of the original Van Halen playing at Madison Square Garden and all this stuff, and
oh,
you just go, this band was unstoppable. Nobody could have followed that band. I don't care who you would have put after them, just the amount of energy that they were emanating on stage. But yeah, David Lee Roth, what for better or for worse, and even later on, with a lot of people ragged on his vocals and stuff, but he's a showman. He's not
yeah,
he's not Pavarotti, you know?
yeah. Like I say, both from him were good, but David Lee Roth. When I saw him, you know, I'm standing there in the pit. So for those who don't know, so you have the stage, you have the space, and you have the big steel barricades. So I'm standing there, and the show starts, and I'm just like, wow. And I see, he's all over the place, and he puts on a show. He
Yeah.
really gives everyone their money's worth. And at one point in time, they were doing this. I don't know how long they did it for, but they were offering this VIP package where you could go, and it was only like I think 20 people maybe that they accepted, and you can buy these special VIP tickets, and you get to watch them do sound check.
I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah. So I'm out there with the VIP people, and this kind of start coming out little by little, and Eddie comes out and he picks up the guitar, lights up a cigarette. He's like, "Hey guys, what's up?" And then he just goes. It was just like someone flipped a switch, and all of a sudden he's just instant rock star. Like he just kind
Yeah.
of sauntered casually across the stage, waved to everyone, "Hey, how you?" Like I say, very casual. "Hey, how you doing?"
Yeah.
Lights a cigarette, and then he just
Yeah.
goes. And oh,
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
to be to be standing there,
Yeah.
with one of the I consider one of the greatest guitarists.
Yeah.
I just love him on guitar, and only have myself and like 20 other
Yeah,
people.
like he's putting on a private show for 20, and Dave never went to those sound checks, right?
I think he might have showed up in the last couple of songs, but the majority of it was for the rest of the band.
Yeah.
And but still, an amazing experience to have that. I mean, growing up as a
Yeah.
fan of the band, and then here I am, basically, like you said, private performance.
Yeah.
And when I so many times I thought back, like moments like that, where I'm like, I can't believe I grew up in a small town, as small as I did, where a lot of people would just go and work at a gas station, work in a restaurant, or they go to university or go out. But I didn't know what I was going to do. I mean,
Yeah.
how many people you ever heard say, "You know what? When I grew up, I'm going to work constant security. I'm going to be a celebrity bodyguard. I'm going to work with all the biggest names in the world." Who prepares
Nobody
for that?
does. Yeah.
Right. And I wasn't even prepared for it. Just kind of,
Yeah.
met the right person at the right time who introduced me to the other right person at the right time.
Yeah.
And then things just fell into place from there. I mean,
Yeah.